What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be working on the foundation of this Plymouth satellite. Now this cross member, the torsion bar cross member, is totally roached, and in order for me to work on that area, I was going to have to open this door. And if you all have been following along, you know that this door has been fighting me tooth and nail. And I gave up the other day, and my goal was to really just try to save this door as best I could without doing any additional damage to it. And it was a struggle. So the striker mechanism in here is totally shot. And what I end up having to do is take a piece of threaded rod and a hammer, and actually, in order for you to hook this handle back onto the striker, it was already up to here. So it's that far out of alignment. So, and it was seized up, and I've been spraying this thing with all kinds of penetrant oil. So what I did was I finally put this thing right down inside there, and I gave her a bunch of taps. Finally she gave loose. Now the striker's totally shot, and when I first opened it up, it was really hard to pull. So she's been closed for a good long time. Now we're able to get in here. I sprayed this area right here with a really good amount of penetrant oil. Actually, it's a penetrant oil that's silicone based, which is awesome. If you're ever trying to do like rubber hoses and stuff, you spray a little bit out and that just goes right on. So now this thing opens and well, it doesn't shut. Well, it shuts, but it doesn't stay shut. So we'll have to order a new striker, and we'll have to replace all the clips and everything. But it's pretty rough inside here. Not the end of the world, but it's getting bug season. So anyways, now that we got the door open, we got to work on the inside. Now that we're inside the car, we're going to use one of these hammers. You can use a screwdriver. I just prefer the force multiplication of using a hammer. Also, you can use it to pry it out of the way. As you can see, I've been trying to find exactly where this cancer starts and where it ends. And you could really get an idea as how bad this cross member is. And I remember seeing this originally, seeing how it kind of goes up and then back down, and I thought that was actually the contour. And I do have to apologize that the Rock Auto one is the correct one. You can actually see that this torsion bar has physically twisted and split this cross member. Now, there's a big important part about the cross member that you have to make sure you're doing when you're replacing it. And that is that you're replacing it exactly where it is. It can't be off. That is your geometry of your suspension is involved here. So make sure you're checking out for where these spot welds are, and we're going to just drill out the spot welds. We'll drop the old one out, and then we're going to do any repairs we need to say this frame right here, which actually doesn't seem too bad. Once we get an actual like a good wire brush in here and wipe it completely down and see what kind of condition it is, if we have to do any repairs to where this meets up with the torsion bar, we can do it at that point. This is 11 gauge wire, or not wire, 11 gauge steel, so it's easy to find and it's fairly easy to weld. What else? So yeah, it really comes down to the geometry. We got to make sure it goes back exactly where it is. We got to make sure we use as much of this floor as a template as possible. Obviously, there's not much right here to work with. It's all gone. Not only is the floor gone, but the torsion cross member is completely gone in this area too. So there's really, I mean, that was all that was left. So we really can't go off of too much there. I did try to do a little bit of research on trying to, you know, get the geometry off of the internet, but we're going to pretty much just have to wing it and match what's here. So we're going to drill out, we're going to have to find and drill out the spot welds, mimic them on the new one, put them in place. Currently, all I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt them in place. I'm not going to weld them because we are going to replace this whole floor. I did a little bit of a survey or a poll, and currently the poll is saying you guys want a new floor, a prefabbed one. So this is an experiment car for you guys as well as me. You know, I've never heard of putting bed liner on a roof, but heck, you guys want to see it, we're going to do it. There are going to be certain parts of this where we're going to just have to do it right. There's no experimenting. We got to do that correct. But the key is to make sure that we match these spot welds. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point. So I think I'm going to take lunch, and when we come back, we're just dig right into this. We're going to find how much of this floor we're going to cut out, because we're not going to replace the whole pan. We'll probably replace just to right here on this side, maybe a little bit further back on this side, because it does seem like the rot extends further back on this side than this side. So Like I said, we'll probably cut it, you know, maybe in a Z pattern, just so that it fits right back in. As far as I can tell, it does go pretty far up here, but once you get past this seam, there's some surface rust, but very solid. So we should be able to weld right where it is. Much to my chagrin, I ran my O2 machine in here for like 3 days straight. And it's really hard. That's why I ran it so long. Normally you just have to run it like 30 minutes. There's an awful lot of ventilation in this car, but as I was knocking that stuff off, there's still more silverfish. Like, there's a lot of silverfish. So I think I'll put some acetone in a spray bottle and just try to obliterate them the best I can. They are hiding underneath the seam weld, or not seam weld, seam seal. But yeah, they're nasty. But yeah, it doesn't go past the seam. Just surface rust up there. That's good. This other side, I haven't really looked into it, but it looks like it's more of the same. Once you get past the seam, not a problem. We're gonna have to do a lot to get rid of the seam so we can weld a nice fresh panel in there, because that's what you want. Also, we're gonna use a nibbler, or it's not a nibbler. It's a set of tin shears. You can't use that on 11 gauge, but you can use it on this. See, that's pretty solid there. If I can hit that, but as I do that, let me show you something. So that's kind of what we're looking at. You know, sure, you could not put a screwdriver in there, but as I'm hitting this fracture right here, so really, in all honesty, what we could do, we get a whole floor pan. We could actually cut along this area right here, up through here, across, and then right to the seam here. We gotta make sure we get a nice clean surface. But we should be able to weld just this section right here. And then on this side, let's kind of look at this side for a second. You can see how up here, it goes way further up. This whole area is pretty rough. I'll make sure I turn the volume down for you guys wearing headphones. See that? See, some of these things, if you're just with a screwdriver, right? Let's find a spot, say right here. But if I go like this, see that? We have a bad spot right there where I would have missed that. So there's actually more floor on this side than there is on that side. That side is really bad. So yeah, we got to go all the way up to the seam on this one. Right up to the firewall seam. Ooh, I don't want to hit that. Probably have to get a new switch. No, I don't know. Probably, I don't know. But yeah, we're going to go right up to the seam on that one. Let's scoot outside for a second so I can get a better angle here. Oh, so we're actually bad above the seam on this side, but it's not very far. So on this side, just right above the firewall seam right here, we're gonna have some repairs right into the wheel well. But it doesn't go very far up, so this is just gonna be a small patch we'll make. Nothing too extreme. Then we go back here. And this is really not a bad spot right here. So we're probably gonna just weld the new patch right in to like that area right there. And we're gonna do a nice butt weld and then grind it smooth as best we can to make it look like it was never here. But yeah, extra ventilation here. Yeah, see, that's pretty sturdy throughout. But we go to this side. And you pick these up at Harbor Freight. But we go to this side, and you can see we have a much more dire situation. So we might have to just do, I don't know, at that point. See, that's why we're looking through all this right here. See, it's not that big of a spot here that needs to be replaced. So I wouldn't say that we need to replace this whole side. Maybe just a small patch right here, but a good portion of this is no good. So this one here will probably go ahead, cut it all the way back, maybe even go right to the seam and just weld a new patch in. But yeah, I don't see any other problems over there. And someday we'll go over the back, but that's how I generally check for, you know, just how bad we're, you know, what we're working with. Now that we're pretty much set, we just need to use the tool. Similar to this, you can get less expensive ones, depending on how much time you're going to be putting into it. You know, I would recommend picking up something that's going to be useful to you. You can get a smaller thing for a smaller job, but this is going to be an awful big job. So I would recommend to pick up one of these or the DeWalt one. There's a bigger Milwaukee one you can get. I think the bigger one's going to be a mistake though, because you're not looking to really cut through too heavy a steel, but you are trying to you're trying to get into some pretty tight spots. You can just undo this right here and you can scooter around. But yeah, let's dig right into it. That is a spot weld right there that's holding this cross member in. So when we cut this floor out here, we're gonna cut around this because I wanna be able to transfer these four and these four into the new cross member. So when we drop this old cross member out, by drilling these out, and we install the new one, we'll just drill through the holes here so that when we replace the floor, we'll have those holes through the cross member underneath and we can just do plug welds in them. We're not going to do a full weld on it. That would be insane. We're just going to do exactly what the manufacturer did. Now, we get into some pretty crazy things. Really wish my Sawzall still worked. So I have to repair that at some point, but it would have made this a little bit easier. Crazy part, I cut the sides and gave it a swift kick and it just came right out. So, oh yeah, she was done. In fact, if you kind of look, let's see if I can get down here a little better for you guys. There you go. You can actually see where this cross member was twisted, and that's what distorted this actual part right here. That's why it didn't look like the one I got. Now, the one I got from, you know, the manufacturer, the supplier, is still pretty bent up, but it's nothing we can't repair. Just wish it would have gotten here in a little better shape. Now we move over to this frame. This frame rail right here is in really, really good shape, except for right as you reach the old cross member. She had quite a bit of porosity right here and a lot of it down through here. I don't know how bad or how far gone this side is, but before we install the new cross member, we have to make sure that this is the right gauge all the way through, at least pretty close to it. The bottom tab is totally gone, so we'll just cut this straight out and we'll do a butt weld new tab, and we'll weld that onto the new cross member. Pretty much the same thing on this side, except for this right here. We're gonna have to go quite a bit further back, possibly right to about here. We're gonna have to cut this section right here out, and we'll weld in a new section. Same gauge steel, same classification, you know, ASCII value. We're going to make sure that it gets the right thing, and we may do that for this section right here, just because it has lost quite a bit. You can actually see where one of the plug welds used to be, and there's a hole there, so we'll probably repair a small section right here. Now when we get over here, it's actually a good thing that there was a little rust spot right here, and as I was using a chisel to knock out the old plug welds, or spot welds rather, so that it just almost like, as you can see, it was just gliding right down here. So you're not taking any metal that you don't want to be taken out. Unfortunately, the steel right here was so weak that as I was doing it, actually started to peel out, and had the same thing happen over here. And fortunately, that actually happened. The reason why I say that is this whole rail right here was filled with a nest of some sort. So I would have started welding our new cross member in here, and the heat could have started the whole car on fire. So, you know, we get, sometimes things happen for a reason. Yeah, we'll have to repair this section, but the result of not having to deal with this could have been a lot worse. So what else? Oh, now the reason why I use the shears, which you see over there, to start out, is so that I can find every single one of these things, like, you know, things I don't want to cut through. They're a little bit more difficult to deal with. You could use a plasma cutter, I guess, but you're not going to see what is underneath. You don't have x-ray vision. So by using something like that, you know, you're going to hit this and it's going to go no further. And you're going to be able to work your way around things. So if there's anything important, you're not going to cut through it. Now, that being said, it is a pain in the neck, yes. But it helps you avoid something like what I did up here. So I wasn't paying attention, and I couldn't really get the shears up here because you have the heating core and the blower unit and everything's all sitting here. So I decided to, you know, screw it. I'll use my grinder, and I put a cutoff wheel on it, and I just cut this pan out, because all I'm going to do is the same thing that I'm doing here. I just peel the side up. And unfortunately, when I did that, I did cut through this bracket, which is an easy repair because I was using such a thin cutoff blade. But that's one more thing we're going to have to clean up and repair properly. So we'll run a nice bead. We'll make sure we have nice penetration. There's no real rust to it, so it's nice and solid. So I'm not worried about just throwing a bead back here, maybe putting a little bit on the back side of it just to, you know, reinforce our weld. But the weld should not be the weak point. As far as the cross member goes, like I was saying over there, we're going to use those as a guide. And I left these top tabs, which are actually on the new unit. I left those top tags on there so we can line them up and then weld in. Well, first we have to weld our patch in here, then we'll weld in our new bracket or cross member here, and then we'll take these out, fold them over, and then weld the new tabs on where these old ones are. But that gives us a nice benchmark, or you know, whatever you want to call a benchmark, or, you know, landmark. You know, a landmark for us to put this back together where it belongs. So I think that's going to be pretty much it for today. This is going to be a time-consuming thing. Allow it to be a time-consuming thing. Don't rush through things. You'll make mistakes. So what pretty much is left for today, I think I'm going to leave you guys, and then I'm going to just finish knocking these spot welds out, this whole little thing right here. And once that's all out, I'm probably going to go have a nice beer. So I hope you guys are enjoying this build. I know I am. I know some people don't think, you know, doing this kind of repair is worth it, but there's something. Some people like to do yoga. Some people like to, you know, I don't know, go do other things where you meditate or something. Yeah, I enjoy cutting up things and making it, you know, if not as good, better than what the manufacturer did. That being said, a lot of times the reason why things are the way they are with manufacturers is crumple zones. So sometimes when you think you're doing something like a good thing, you're really not. But we'll see if the weather's nice enough to do it tomorrow. I think we're calling for thunderstorms, but yeah, it's quite the task. It's quite the task. But we're making it there. I'm very tempted to actually just say kind of screw it, and we'll just remove the rest of this at some point. Once the new cross member's in, we'll go ahead and remove the entire floor all the way back, and then just spot weld a new one in. We don't have to go through and do solid welds. And we might be getting a spot weld machine, which would be super cool. But we have a lot to do before we're ready to put floors back in. A lot to do. I was just thinking, it's a Flintstone vehicle. You can put your feet down and just go for it. All right, guys, you have yourselves a wonderful night. I hope you're enjoying this project as much as I am. It's a nice reprieve from some of the crazy things we're doing. So, yeah, that's all I have for you today. Have yourselves a wonderful night and keep it shiny side up. God bless.